So I've been signed to my agent now for over a year, which is crazy, but I know a lot of other people who have been with their agent for a year or more, so I thought it would be an interesting opportunity to talk about the concept of being a represented actor, because I think a lot of my actor friends who I know who are self-represented, don't have an agent, looking to get an agent at some point, like they have a lot of questions, and also like sometimes it's interesting as a represented actor to hear about other people, and I won't just be like addressing personal aspects of my personal experience with my agent, but also just generally about what I've heard from other people, various different conversations I've had, and just the general experience and things that it's made me more aware of, because I think like wanting an agent and then actually knowing what having an agent is like from having an agent for a year is very different. And I'm very glad that I have an agent as well, because they do say, to be fair though, like having no agent is better than having a bad agent, so that's also something that's important to keep in mind. But I feel like getting an agent is like the active version of like learning to drive, or one of those kind of life milestones that you work towards. So I'm very glad to have an agent, and I think it does open a lot of doors for you. So I thought I would talk about it, and if anyone has any questions, then leave the questions in the comments, and if you want to follow along with my journey, then please do also subscribe and stay tuned, and let's chat about represented life. So the first thing that I wanted to talk a little bit about represented actor life is about signing the contract, because I think that's a big thing. And like if you're speaking and having meetings with various different agents, then signing the contract is a big thing, and like it's a big document, and we're not all legally trained, so I feel like that's something that's not often always covered. So I think your experience as well, being part of that agency, and the various different rules that you will have that are involved with being signed to that specific agent are very much dependent on your contract. And you can get various different kinds of agents, because some agents will want commission on all of the kind of acting work you book, some will want commission only on the work that they book you, and they'll have different commission rates as well. So it's really important to know the typical commission rates, because if they're asking for so much commission that's above standard rate, then that is a concern. There's lots of red flags, like if they're asking you for money and they have costs, then that's a scam, so avoid that. Like there's lots of different things to look out for. So I know people, luckily, who are aware of contracts, not like acting contracts, but just general contracts. So having someone I trust close to me to be able to look through the contract with me, I think is important, to just know that you're asking all the right questions, everything's been covered, and you know what you're signing up for and what the rules are. And I think various different people want different things, because I think there are benefits to having an agent who's interested in getting commission as well from all of the different work that you do, because then they'll be more invested in you and your acting career as a whole. So there's benefits to that. But then some actors are also doing other kind of work, and they want to be able to find work by themselves and not have commission taken off that and all of that. Like everyone's got their own different preferences as well, and other people's preferences, who you know, don't have to be your preferences, obviously. Like I know people who want specific things from agents that are not stuff that I'm looking for, so it's so specific and so different. So also learning about your agent as well in the meeting is important, because I know people who have signed with agents and then it gets down to it and they're being put up for jobs that are like completely not what they want to do, and stuff that they've mentioned that they don't want to do. Like they might be being put up for like loads of pantos and they don't want to do that kind of work, or they might have signed to a musical theatre agent and actually they want to do more straight acting or TV and film. So knowing what kind of work your agent puts people up for, what kind of work your agent thinks you want, and like making sure that you're aligned with your vision is really important, and knowing that you're both on the same page about what your casting type is and what kind of jobs you'd want to take and what kind of jobs you wouldn't want to take, and all of that is very important. So I felt personally very aligned with my agent when I met her, which is why I decided to go with her. But I think it's important that if you don't feel like it's right, don't sign the contract, because you're signing yourself to an agent. Like, you might as well just wait for something that's right rather than go for something that's wrong, because also then it's complicated to be able to try and get a different agent when you're already with someone. A lot of questions will be asked and all of that, and it's just not really worth it. Then another question that I feel like a lot of people have is, how many auditions will you be getting? How much contact do you have with your agent? And all of that. Like, I think a lot of people have a lot of questions about what having an agent involves statistically, but I think that's so varied, and it's so varied based on many different factors that are not to do with your agent as well. Like, it's based on your Spotlight profile, what headshots you have, what your casting type is. Like, I've heard that older actors get seen often a lot more because there's less of them and there's less competition, there's a lot of roles for older actors. And then also I've heard as well that there's like certain demographics that there's less roles for, like maybe in your 30s there's a bit of a gap where like you're not old enough to play a mother but you're not young enough to play like younger characters. Like, everything comes in waves, and it depends what kind of roles are being cast at the moment, what there's sort of a trend towards, what kind of shows are being made. So it's dependent on so many different things. So 2 clients at one agent might also have completely different experience, and also do have completely different experiences, because I've known from speaking to various different agents as well that like some clients are getting seen loads and are having like a time when they're being seen loads, booking lots of things, and then for other people it's quieter, or they're being seen for completely different things, but you can't go into anything thinking this person's represented here and this is the experience they have, so this is the experience I will have, because it's entirely different and it's very varied. So that's something that has been really highlighted to me. Like, I've known some people from certain agents who have like feel like they're being seen a lot, and other people in the same agency feel like they're not really ever being seen. And that's what I've heard from people, and that's just sort of part of the industry. And next, what I want to talk about is what are the kind of benefits of having an agent, because I think I always knew that I wanted an agent, and I knew it was the next step to take in order to progress my career, and I felt ready within myself, like I was able to do a lot of tapes in a quick turnaround. I was getting a lot of auditions. Like, the month before I signed with my agent, I did, I think, 12 tapes. So I knew that I could learn material, film stuff, send it off, and I felt comfortable with that. Whereas like a few years before that, I had less self-taping experience, and I would have felt quite anxious actually to sign with an agent and not know when a tape could come through, what kind of material to expect, what a typical kind of level of information that you'll get about a project is like. I was just very much like concerned and scared about the idea of getting an agent when I first started in acting, but I feel like you get to a point where you feel like you're ready to have an agent and that will be beneficial for you. But like, learning about the specific benefits, I think you really learn about as well when you actually have an agent. Like, I think they're so experienced in the business and negotiation side of stuff, like knowing the etiquette to everything and knowing how to handle everything when you can get such like confusing, unique scenarios that you might not have faced before can feel a bit confusing or overwhelming, and you might be like, what's the correct way to respond to this kind of situation? Like, you can end up in all sorts of different complex scenarios or things that you have like questions about that you want to approach in the right way when you're being considered for like auditioning for something, or when you're like the industry's just complicated, and I don't want to get into specific examples, but there's just a lot that goes on that you wouldn't know about until you're facing those kind of scenarios. So I think having an agent really helps you with having someone who's knowledgeable in how to negotiate contracts, how to ask your questions about castings in the right way, and how to follow up in a way that's professional, and when to follow up, and knowing all of this and being able to submit you for roles on Spotlight in the right way. Like, I wasn't getting seen for anything really on Spotlight. Like, I was able to have my Spotlight link as a self-represented actor, which was useful, and I think it looks good to show that like I'm an actor who's eligible to be on Spotlight and is on Spotlight, so it was useful for that, and I was able to send off my Spotlight link to various different places. But through actually submitting myself on Spotlight, I didn't really get seen for anything on Spotlight until I had my agent, and my agent was able to approach it in the right way to be able to get me to be seen. And I think there's such a technique to submitting yourself on Spotlight for stuff, and it's so time consuming as well, so I save time submitting myself for as many things on Spotlight, and I'm able to invest my time in other castings, and like I still put myself up for castings, but having certain areas covered by someone who really is experienced in that area is really valuable. And also having someone who's sort of part of your professional circle, I guess, of people to be able to go to for second opinions on like headshots. Like I got new headshots done, which I knew I needed to get really, and having someone to go through options with you. Like some agents as well will dictate and say these are the best options and these are the ones you're going with. So every agent actor dynamic works entirely differently, so you can't take one person's opinion and say that's what it would be like to have an agent, because everything's so different. But having someone, in my case, to be able to discuss with and to understand someone who has so much professional experience in casting and in the industry, to be able to advise me on that and make sure I was picking the right options, and to advise me on what to keep in mind with all of these different things, was really helpful. And also, when you submit tapes, they go to your agent first. So having my agent looking at my tapes, because this is what usually happens, the agent will look at your tapes and will check that they're okay to be sent off. So I feel like that is really helpful as an actor, to know that your agent thinks that it's an alright tape to be sent off, and then it's sort of out of your control, because otherwise if it's just you sending off your tapes, that feels a bit different. But now I feel like I approach it entirely different, because if me and my agent have signed off a tape and said yes, this is alright to send in, then I can have peace knowing the fact that I've sent in my best work to a casting, and that's all I can do. So I think having someone you're approaching your career with is nice, is helpful in taking you to the next level. It protects you and makes you more aware of any kind of concerns, things that you should be looking out for. And also it helps me get into audition rooms and get seen for things that are a bit more high level. Like I feel like I can get myself castings, but through my agent I've been able to be seen for bigger things. I also find that really motivational to know that like I'm submitting myself for jobs, but also there's my agent submitting me for jobs as well. Like it's nice. So I just love being a represented actor, and it's given me so many more opportunities that I feel like I wouldn't have otherwise had as a self-represented actor. It opens so many doors. So would recommend, obviously. Like it's a great thing to do. It's a step that like the majority of actors do. Like it's rare to find an actor without an agent beyond like a certain level. So that's my chat on represented actor life. If you have any experiences, any questions, any advice, any thoughts that you'd like to share in the comments, then please do, and let's have a chat. And thank you so much for watching. Bye.